Todd McFarlane releases a New York Comic-Con variant, but is it really worth getting to a fist fight over?
The return of Atlas Comics to Walmart?
Plus, even more reaction to Absolute Batman as we prepare for the launches of Absolute Superman and Absolute Wonder Woman. All this and more on this episode of Bronze and Modern Gods. Woo! Hi there, I am John.
You never told me there were sound effects. I'm Richard.
There are sound effects. Just be warned. Hi, everybody. Hope you had a great week. Lots of news coming out of New York Comic Con. Before we get into that, Richard, what would this podcast be without CGC screwing up yet again? Have you seen the latest about the grading issues for the 9.9s?
I did not know.
Check out Automatic Comics on YouTube. He's been doing a good job of covering this. Apparently, he uncovered a submission of 21 books where 12 of them came back with 9.9s.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. What does it mean? I don't know. Follow Atomic Comics on YouTube to watch that and make your own observations, or just sit back and wait for CGC to ignore it and hope you do too, and just wait for it to go away. We're not going to get into it. I mean, how much CGC can we talk about on this channel?
Apparently, we haven't found the limit.
Apparently not. The drinking game is out of control. Everybody take a shot already. Let's move on to the other big news this week, our hot book of the week. Richard, can you believe we're here again?
This is a perennial. Spawn 357 by Image Comics, the 2024 New York Comic Con exclusive, distributed at Retailer Day at the Todd McFarlane panel, and it's signed, 300 copies signed.
300 air quotes. I'm assuming no one's learned their lesson from the last super limited Spawn exclusive that ended up having hundreds of copies later magically appear. No? We haven't learned anything? Okay,
nope,
great.
We have a short-term memory issue.
These are currently selling for as high as $350 to $499 completed sales on eBay right now, Richard.
Yeah, it's the people who follow Todd McFarlane. He is forced unto himself.
But look at this. Is it worth it?
No, of course not.
I mean,
except for unless you're a completionist and you have to have every single thing that Todd does as exclusives. Just wait a year maybe, and the prices I'm sure will be a lot more normalized. There's just really isn't anything. There's no first appearance of a major character. It's really the value here is in its supposed exclusivity.
I want to know what printer gives them a sweetheart deal where they can only have 300 of something printed with no exceeding costs. No,
I'm sure that a more normal print run was done and the balance were destroyed.
Maybe only 300 were signed. I believe that.
That might be more accurate. 300 were signed and the rest were not. But if that's the case and the other ones, the unsigned ones, make it into the wild, what's to stop somebody from taking it to a show and having Todd sign it?
Oh, Richard, wait, it gets worse. There was a Peach Momoko variant of this issue that was a New York Comic Con exclusive. They announced it on Instagram. People ran to the booth when the doors opened. And guess what? There was a fist fight, according to many sources that were there. Fist fight in the line. Let's keep it classy, collectors. I love it.
It's just comic books. It's really not worth getting into fisticuffs.
We need to define what FOMO is for people again. Fear of missing out. It is a great driver. It's also somewhat insidious.
Yeah, and you're not going to earn any props in prison for being there because you got into a fight over a comic book. Just letting you know.
I don't know if you're going to go to prison when people are just shoplifting entire Walgreens and not going to jail.
Yeah, that is a whole nother story. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, I don't think you're going to be tough in the prison yard when you say, yeah, I got fought over a Peach Momoko variant. That's how I got here. Get a little teardrop tattoo by your eye. 'cause you survived NYCC. Oh, you have to laugh or you'll cry. Let's move on to something fun. Show and tell, shall we?
Sure.
You just refuse to do the fingers, don't you? You're just
I,
not
I'm busy doing others. I'm looking at other screens when you're doing that.
you're busy
Ooh,
doing other things with your fingers.
yeah.
Is that what you were gonna say? Richard, it is Detective Comics number. Oh, hold on. Jeez, oh Pete, I am old. Yeah, 567. Uh, written by Harlan Ellison.
Oh,
But I'm all about this cover.
is that foil? The bat
No,
logo?
no, this is a old school 80s issue. It's just a normal 4-color, but check that out. You know, it's kind of, I mean, it's not the same as a jock cover, but it has that kind of design element where you see the bat in the cityscape of Gotham and
Yeah,
Batman, little Batman figure. Why isn't this cover more well known and more respected?
very good question. That is a cool cover.
Have you seen this before?
No, I have not.
I think also I am kind of a fan of that Art Deco Batman logo.
hmm It's
Um,
much better than some other Batman logos I've seen.
Don't get me started. We'll talk about Absolute Batman a little bit later, but I just wanted to remind everybody what the bat chest symbol looks like. Just a
Right.
reminder. Um,
Yep, the old classic yellow circle with a bat in the middle.
will Absolute Batman have a bat signal that's just like a block with little points when they want to call them?
Uh,
Will there be a bat signal in Absolute?
well, nowadays they have things. They have the internet and they have.
Text me at this number, Commissioner Gordon. Don't share it with anybody, please. Uh, and then Batman gets junk text. Will you be at the party later? Yeah, go ahead.
It's
Have
political.
you got one of those yet? Junk texts, just
Oh,
random.
yes, I do. I get those all the time.
Yeah.
Recently, it's been people sending me stuff about politics, which
Uh,
I always get my political leanings from my phone.
yeah, exactly. People knocking on my door. They'll change my mind. All right, go ahead. What's your first book?
All right, none of these books are new. These are all books that are part of the PC. Here's one that people may not, newer people on the show may not know that I had. This is Marvel Superheroes number 20. It's a 9.6, and I have this because John is an eagle-eyed watcher of auctions, and this one came up in the Heritage auction, I believe. And John texted me and told me it was available, and I put in a bid, and yeah, I ended up getting. I think it was all in 3,600.
I don't think it was Heritage. I think it was on Elite Comics 11. And
Was it elite?
yeah,
Okay.
and it was I think they were asking 38 and you offered 36.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's
It's
how
been a
I
while.
I could be wrong.
Your memory is definitely better than mine. But anyway, this is the highest grade that Doctor Doom, or highest grade MSH 20 out there, other than the 3 9.8s that exist.
I like
So
that. This is the highest grade except for those other 3.
except for those. Yeah, I'm never gonna be able to afford one of the 9.8s. So this is good. This is good for me. For those who don't know, I have had literally over a dozen of these books in various grades. This is the one that's the part of the personal collection because of its grade.
That is amazing. And I saw it and I thought, this is your chance. Do it. You got to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah,
John is an enabler, by the way.
I am the worst enabler. And I'm also a big fan of these covers from The Warlord. This is number 19.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what this story is about, why he's encrusted in jewels. I'm not having a good memory about what the story was. I've almost finished the entire run of Warlord, reading it, not buying it. And this series is all over the place, especially when Mike Grell leaves. It's like he's time traveling into the far future of America. He gets elected president. Yeah, it's nuts. This was when it was a little more grounded in sword and sorcery. And they wonder why it got canceled.
Is it a dinosaur by his bicep there?
This little skull right here,
Other side.
other side, probably.
His
Yeah,
dinosaur right by his
yeah.
bicep.
These guys, I don't know if Mike Grell just had a really cool drawing. I don't think the story reflects this at all.
what situation are you going to be in that you that is your choice for outfit to wear?
He's in Scartaris, which is the middle of the earth, up in the Arctic Circles, how you enter it. And it's a place where time has no meaning. So you've got dinosaurs, you've got wizards, you've got futuristic sunken Atlantis, high science fiction as well. It's basically whatever Mike Grell felt like writing about and putting his little stand in here. And
Mhm.
my favorite was when he came back to this character. He was writing and drawing Green Arrow, and people kept pointing out, do you have like one face, Mike Grell, that you could draw? So he actually did a story where Travis Morgan meets Oliver Queen and gets mistaken for him.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so good on you, Mike Grell, for having a sense of humor. And also, many, many small queer boys, thank you for your work in the 80s.
Uh,
What's next?
Next is another book that's been a part of the PC for a while. This Long Shot #1. It's a 9.8. This is a great. This is Art Adams' artwork for this book. He actually drew a man, which is not something.
Well, Longshot's not the most masculine card in the.
Okay, well, this is true. This is true. There's definitely gender fluidity in his
It's
his makeup.
the way he's appear. Doesn't he have like avian bones too?
Oh man, I don't. I haven't. I haven't read this story. Reread this story in a long time.
I believe he's supposed to have like super hollow bones where he can like he's super light on his feet or whatever.
Great character. Great limited series. And I always is another character that he to me in my mind is so tied to the original artist's rendition of him. When other people try to do Mojo or try to do Long Shot, it just looks weird.
No,
It just doesn't capture it the way that Art Adams did.
making him an X-Man. What was that about?
I don't know. He's the definition of loner, and trying to put him in a ensemble group just doesn't work.
Uh, this is also a good example of the changing corner box motif that you pointed out with the Incredible Hulk
Mhm.
from 290 to 300, where that corner box changes as the Hulk reasserts his savage persona through those issues. If you remember Longshot 1 through 6, that his little animal friend there, I don't remember his name, he gets more and more bestial as the
Mhm.
issues go on in that
Yeah,
corner.
good call out. Yeah, absolutely. Um, they definitely played some fun and games with the corner box, which is cool.
Do you remember what a game changer that Art Adams art was back then?
What do you mean?
Well, Longshot 1 came out, everybody's like, "Whoa, look at this art. This guy's like super detailed."
Mhm.
He's got, I remember people thinking, "Oh, he's ripping off Michael Golden." I definitely remember that. But he had a lasting impact. I mean, your Will Spartacios, your Jim Lees,
Mhm.
all those people just ripping on Art Adams.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was big. It was a big deal when he came out. Um, Not as well respected, but still a fantastic artist. It is Nick Cardy drawing Strange Adventures number 241.
Oh.
A little cool Adam Strange
Mhm.
cover. It's a reprint, unfortunately. It's not a new story, but uh, kind of cool that, near the end of Strange Adventures, they kind of gave up on the anthology format and brought back Adam Strange reprints and had these beautiful new Nick Cardy covers. Tough run to get in high grade. People didn't save these reprint issues from the 70s too much.
It's beautiful. I love that cover art.
You ever do Adam Strange?
No, I didn't.
Me neither. It wasn't my thing, but which is surprising as much as I love those spaceships and
Right.
the future. I just couldn't get into he teleports to Ran and gets to stay there for it's kind of like John Carter, Warlord of Mars, a little bit. He goes there and meets a woman and has to come back to Earth and live his normal humdrum life until he gets teleported back to Rand.
Yeah,
What's your final book for show and tell?
this is a book if I've had it for a while and I would love to upgrade. It's Star Wars #1. but it's
I'm
only a
shocked.
8.5.
Yeah, I'm shocked you only have an 8.5 as much as a Star Wars fan as you are.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I wanna upgrade. For the longest time, this book was inexpensive,
Dead in the
and
water.
yeah, I put off buying it, and I put off buying it, and then all of a sudden, things popped, and the value of this book just skyrocketed to the point where a 9.8 was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and, I just wasn't willing to pay it, so I've held on to this 8.5. At some point, I'm going to, reevaluate my desire to have a higher grade and maybe invest in something. I don't know if it's gonna be a 9.6, 9.8 or not, um, but in the meantime, this A5 is fine, it is a perfect book for that slot and to get that itch of having the Star Wars #1, so
Did you buy it slabbed?
yes. Yes, I did.
Do you think it's an 8.5? Is it improvable? Can you crack that sucker and maybe do some magic, some voodoo that you do so well?
I think, I'm looking at it, there's a couple spine ticks. I think you could get it up to maybe a 9.2,
Okay.
9.4. Nothing serious. I see some, excuse me, you can see it's in reflections there. There's a
Sure
couple
do.
divots thing. You could definitely use a press.
I think you might be able to work some magic on that if you feel like it. For you, an 8.5, I figured that was your 35-cent variant.
I wish.
That's what I thought it was.
I
Uh,
think 1.0 is a 35-cent variant, to be honest with you.
yeah, that's one of the tougher 35-cent variants, along with the westerns and the horror reprint titles. But hey, we want to remind everyone that you can support this show by becoming a member here on YouTube for the cost of $2.99 a month. You can show your support with Wednesday new episodes with exclusive show and tell for members only. You get the live members only episode on Thursdays. You get to guest and show your books off on Thursday's episodes if you're a member. You get shout outs with the new members. Say hi to the new members this week, Richard. We keep growing. We
I
really,
knew.
we truly appreciate all of you. It's helping us go to more shows, provide more coverage. In fact, Richard and I, just before this recording, we're talking about the shows we're going to go to in 2025. And StreamYard, which is the software we use, is doubling in price. Thank you, StreamYard. So that's going to be a big hit. So we appreciate everyone that joins. Just hit join right here on YouTube. And if you're in another platform, just look at the description and you can support us that way. You can also support us by writing in and giving us something to read on the segment we call Your Mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, take it away.
My first piece of your mail is from Julius Maloney. It says, "Don't spoil. About to catch up on Agatha."
Oh,
Yeah, thank you, John, for not spoiling. I and my wife have been watching it, and we're up to episode 3 or 4. I can't remember which one, to be honest with you. I think it's 3,
Mhm.
and it's been good. I was a little bit worried about how they were going to portray Agatha, if she was going to end up, anyway, I'm not going to spoil it, but so far, the first episode was a little slow, but the second and third one have been much, much better. And so far, it's enjoyable. I'm looking forward to finishing it.
You
Did you
seem to
finish it?
we're caught up.
Okay.
It's we're all caught up. You seem to have the same reaction everybody has when they finally sit down and watch it. It's not bad. Uh,
No.
seems to be because everyone was so primed to hate it from the online reactions that some people had. It's really, guys. First of all, it's may not be for you. Like I always say, it's for your girlfriends, for your wife. It's for the gays, especially the new episode. I'm telling you, it's for the
Yeah, I
gays.
mean, it is primarily female characters, and if you have a problem with no male, alpha male being the primary, then yeah, you may not enjoy it as much. But to me, it's good. I mean, each character is individual and interesting, and so far so good.
I'm not sure what you broskies are expecting in a show that features Catherine Hahn, Patty LaPone, and Aubrey Plaza. Were you expecting, Die Hard 3? I don't know what you thought was going to happen. My first piece of viewer mail comes to us from Brown Ink 2012. talking about Absolute Batman. Last week, I asked the question, why? What is this book for? I don't understand it. And several of you let me know why, and I appreciate it. So you guys missed the all in one shot, which explains everything. Absolutely. I did not read it first. Um, and you're absolutely right, Brownie. It makes a lot more sense now that I've read All In. I don't want to spoil anything, but Absolute Comics is basically their ultimate universe. They're all ongoing, and they're adding Absolute Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Martian Manhunter, and the New Gods, which may or may not exist in the Absolute universe. Way to keep it clean, DC. Thank you. They've got some incredible creative teams doing the books, which has me excited about DC for the first time in years. Thank you, Brown Ink. You're not alone, Brown Ink. People are really on fire for this. It's the first DC comic I've bought in years.
Yeah, I mean the buzz around it is excellent, and it's not it's excitement about the story, not
Mhm.
about, something that, sometimes you get buzz around the energy of a book, not necessarily the book, and then the energy dies down, no one wants to read it anymore. But I think in this case, there is real interest in the story and seeing it continue, so
We've
I'm
been here before, 2000, the Ultimate Universe. People were up in arms, like, how can you replace the Marvel Universe? And Marvel had to reassure us this is not a replacement. It is a parallel thing. You don't have to read one to get the other. Now, what happened eventually, Richard? They just jammed them both
yeah,
together.
right,
So
and we got miles out of that,
we
so
got Miles came on over. So I am cautiously optimistic. If I was the writer on the regular Batman title, I'd be a little offended that all my marketing dollars are being spent over there. But
yeah, yeah. It's we'll have to see how long going, is this just going to pass, or is this going to or is this interest that is out there actually going to solidify into, a real buying long term for the title? We'll see.
will we be enjoying the adventures of Bruce Wayne, city planner, in 10 years? Gosh, I hope so. What is your next piece of your mail?
My next piece is from To Me or Not to Me.
I love
That is a great name. And again, talking about I said Ultimate Batman,
it. Yeah.
Absolute Batman, a different kind of Batman beating up thugs in a kind of different way. Meh. And you know what? I understand this sentiment. It still is just Batman. It's the same. You got this guy with no powers who is beating people up. Um, yeah, that pretty much describes every iteration of Batman. It's core to his mythos. That and the fact that he has some trauma from a young age, and he takes that trauma out on bad guys, which people, as a vigilante, people are on both sides of the fence about how that's dealt with. It's like all the other of the Trinity stories. Well, let me take that back, because Wonder Woman, her stories never really developed the same kind of core concept. At least I don't think so. But Superman and Batman, they all revolve around an early tragedy in early life, and then neither one of them, for the most part, um, uh, have fatalities, cause fatalities. Batman has in some of his iterations, but Superman hasn't in most of his iterations.
Oh yeah.
And
Let's talk about that for a second. Absolute Batman. One point I forgot to mention in my quickie review last week. No one gets killed by him.
yeah,
He's so good that he can stab people with his ears.
yeah, and miss all the vital organs. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know it's comics. I know it's suspension of disbelief, but
But yeah, those are, I mean, again, core concepts. You can't violate that without a really really good cause. When when you
I appreciate the code of not killing. It can just be done in a less violent, clumsy way, I think.
But yeah, to me or not to me, I totally understand your feelings about this yet again another iteration on that core theme. But it's you read Batman and you understand and you internalize that it is the a guy beating up thugs because he had trauma in early life. It's the other things around the story that, how he maneuvers through his life and how the situation around him is changed by his actions. That differs from each interpretation. And I think that's where people find interest and it's not about detectives anymore. It's really about Batman and how he deals with the different things in his environment. So as I've said before, I'm really interested in seeing the direction it goes in, and again to get that you just internalize that statement about beating up thugs and just enjoy the rest of the story.
Kudos to DC. It's the first time we're talking about DC in this way since this podcast started 4.5
Yeah,
years ago.
new books. I mean, every now and then we'll have any. There was the Black Superman. There was Superboy. He was gay or
Yeah,
bisexual.
that was super.
You, Yeah, we have one-offs. We'll talk about different things, but yeah, this has gone on for more than a couple of weeks. So
Kudos. Well, let's move on. The next piece of viewer mail comes from our friend Tales from My Spinner Rack, which is a great YouTube channel. You should go there. Pause. Go subscribe right now. Okay, thanks. Come back. There we go. Uh, oh, wait. More Absolute Batman. Crap. Just read Absolute Batman 2. It was enjoyable, but they didn't reinvent the wheel as far as I'm concerned. I wish DC and Marvel would go the saga way of doing books. 6 in a row, then take a break, like Staples and Vaughn do, or do seasons like Morrison and Sharp did a few years ago on Green Lantern. To be honest, this old fart, and I have a few years on both of you, finds myself turning more and more back to the books and characters I loved as a kid. Modern day comics are bewildering. And hey, stay off my effing lawn, you two. Spinnerack, you're preaching to the choir. I'm not afraid of new comics. I read plenty of new comics. In fact, can I talk about this? I think I talked about it on the members only. If you're not buying Hate Revisited by Peter Baggy, please go buy it. It's friggin' hysterical.
yeah,
I
my
don't
copy's over there.
agree with his little interior story about trans people. That one's a little troubling to me, but I kind of respect the cartooning and the humor behind it. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying it's somewhat entertaining. So I have no problem with modern comics. I have no problem with Absolute Batman. Some of the story choices and some of the beats bewildered me. I old man, I didn't get it. Why is he a city planner? I don't get it. Is it leading up to him becoming a millionaire soon and having the Bat Cave? And I don't know. It just change for change's sake.
Yeah, well, yeah, they have definitely spun things on its ear. Having Alfred as this government agent,
No,
um,
I
that's
don't want to. Yeah,
so
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're treading a fine line of spoiling everything for people who haven't had a chance to read it yet. I haven't even gotten to the parents situation,
yeah, yeah.
the Thomas and Martha Wayne situation. So, all right, why don't we change the subject for once? We'll get off Absolute Batman for all the people who are screaming at their phones right now. What's your next piece of view?
My next piece is from Belle Isier, which is real simple. Great show as always. Thank you. By the way, did you guys hear that Mego is creating toys based on the old Atlas Seaboard comics? I excuse me. This was awesome. I went on. Thank you so much for the comment. The YouTube video where they are doing the announcement, and they have no joke characters now that are being sold on Walmart.com of from Atlas Phoenix,
Which
Panda.
Phoenix?
What do
Issue
you
1 through 3 Phoenix or issue 4 Phoenix where they completely reboot him as the protector?
No, issue 1 through 3 is Phoenix.
Okay.
Hands of the Dragon, the Grim Ghost, and Devilina. Who these characters are for? They are not for typical Walmart
Oh,
buyers. I think this is for the adult that remembers those characters from, from back in the day. And these figures, they're also action figure collectors, and these are just gems because you can tie in your love for those old comics with action figures with these. I mean, no one else is ever going to offer these characters as action figures again. So I think this is a great opportunity for people who have a love of the comics and also to collect action figures to again have that melding of those two hobbies.
You missed the live stream on Thursday, Richard, which is absolutely understandable. Richard had some stuff to do, and Evan sat in, and we talked about these Atlas characters and this big push for them. They had a huge booth at New York Comic Con, a huge booth for Atlas, not this Atlas. So we're clear, not the 1950s Marvel Atlas. We're talking the Revenge Incorporated company that was started by Martin Goodman and his son Chip when Stan Lee became publisher, and they were upset. So they started an Atlas Comics in 1974, 75 to compete with Marvel, lasted less than a year, published a whopping 23 issues of content. And now they're rebooting all this stuff. And they've got God bless them. They know people. They're going to get in Walmart. Are they selling comics in Walmart? No, they're selling action figures in Walmart. Action figures of characters that lasted less than 5 issues each. Hands of the Dragon, one single issue, just so you know. People have no idea who these characters are.
None.
If you do, you are at least 50 years old, at least, because you had to be old enough to buy these books from the stands in 1975 when they were out. It is a niche of a niche of a niche. I don't know how thin you can slice this audience, but okay. You guys better have a non-returnable agreement with Walmart is all I'm saying. Once once they ship out of your warehouse, you should be like this. Okay, suckers, you got them now.
Yeah, it really is a niche product. And for one, I'm glad to see Walmart selling a niche product, which means they're serving more than the masses. Um, you know, so the fact that they are using the sales machine that they've built to serve a smaller audience is great. It's gratifying. And for Migo, for those people who actually put this deal together and got it across the finishing line, congratulations. I think you are serving the community, the comic community, in a way that I don't think anybody else could do.
You're so nice, Richard. You're much nicer than I am. Why are you doing this, Migo and Atlas? And why these characters? Where is the Scorpion? Where is Tiger Man? Where are the most notable characters of the Atlas line? Only thing I can figure out is they had creator rights deals for
Mm,
this line. So I wonder if these are the ones that are free and clear where they
mm,
don't have to pay any creators rights. There's been speculation. You know how I'm telling you how they rebooted all these characters after 3 or 4 issues? That was one way to get around the creator rights. So maybe they have the rights to Scorpion from issue 3. That is
mhm.
not the Howard Chaykin Scorpion from issues 1 and 2. Again, a niche of a niche. Half of our audience has already tuned out because they don't care about the
I want to say one last thing about it. I have a link to the YouTube video where they actually show the figures. And this is not taking advantage of 2024 technology to be able to sculpt a perfectly. No, this is as if you were in the 70s and you made an action figure with the soft rubbery head
Mhm.
and the human form that is off and wrapped in cloth. It's just classic. It's not a reinterpretation of the old stuff. It is making these characters in the old way. And I think I appreciate that too.
Now, after all my ranting about this, do I want these figures? Oh, yes. Yes, I
I
do.
figured I figured you and Forrest wouldn't be lining up to buy these.
Exactly. When they go on clearance at Walmart for 70% off, I will get a set. My final piece of viewer mail comes to us from our buddy Kevin Colvin. Hi, Kevin. In the spirit of 1983 being the best year in music, with 1984 being a very close second, and 1986 being the best year in comics, maybe it's time to transition the 25-year rule to the 40-year rule, where some of the best Copper Age comics were about to be released. Oh, Kevin, 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 Kevin. We love you. Are you new here? Every other week, we do a 40-year flashback. It's a segment we like to call the Old Fart Rule. I would like to thank Kevin for scripting a perfect segue for me.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Kevin, in case you're not aware, every other week we do the Old Fart Rule, where we go back 40 years to 1984 to talk about those notable comics you want us to talk about. And they don't get much more notable than this Saga of the Swamp Thing, number 21 from DC. Yes, the anatomy lesson, the second Alan Moore issue. But this is the one that changes everything after issue 20, where he wraps up some of the outstanding plot threads from Marty Pasco's run. Richard, would you agree this is one of the most important books of the Copper Age?
Absolutely, 100%. Alan Moore is a genius, a tortured genius, but a genius nonetheless. And I was enraptured by this line, by this story. I started at the beginning here, and it is easily one of the most impactful stories in a very interesting way. So if you haven't read it, please do yourself a favor and go back and uh, read his story arc.
It set the tone for comics in general for at least the next decade, and it's directly responsible for the birth of things like the Vertigo line of comics, which,
Mhm.
by the way, is being relaunched. It was announced at New York Comic Con
Oh,
uh,
good.
this weekend, and the first title is Nice House by the Sea, which will be under Vertigo now.
Okay.
So, Nice House on the Lake is being returning as Nice House under the Sea or by the Sea. Back to Saga of the Swamp Thing, the anatomy lesson. So many great beats in this book. Oh, yes, there will be blood. There will be blood. Uh, it's told from a third person point of view, from the Floronic man who knows what's going to happen because he's sort of semi responsible for tipping off the Swamp Thing to his true origin and what he really is. I don't think we can spoil a 40-year-old story,
I don't think so.
but I'm going to be careful anyway. I actually was reading Swamp Thing from issue 1 all
Mhm.
the way to this issue when it came out. Um, and Alan Moore, God bless him, this is when you didn't come on a book and just forget everything that happened before and just do your own thing. He actually tied this into the Sunderland Corporation, which was a big subplot through most of Marty Pasco's run. He used the same art team that was on the book. He really made it his own with this issue. Uh, and I don't know why, Richard, the 90-day GPA average for a CGC 9.8 is just $292.
Really?
Yeah.
That tells me I should go out and buy a couple of them at that
It,
price.
this book is so important. And let me ask you guys, when do you remember the first time you read this? Do you remember when you were being told at your local comic shop, hey, are you reading Swamp Thing? And you looked at the owner like, why would I be reading Swamp Thing? What's wrong with you? And being sold on it, having it pressed into your palm when the Comics Journal and Amazing Heroes were telling everyone, go read Swamp Thing. It was ready to be canceled, right?
Yeah, yeah. I tell you, Alan Moore, he just he has this ability to tell a story in a way that is just unique between Swamp Thing, um, um,
Well, Watchmen, I
yeah,
mean,
Watchmen is what I was trying to think of.
Miracle Man, I mean,
Miracle Man, V for Vendetta. He just has this ability to tell a story in a way that really no one else has mastered, and so many iconic, and I use that word, literally, stories and characters have come from his brain. He's a little bit that brain is a little off at sometimes, but I think that's just that's just the price of genius. Sometimes is
I also
people.
I also think it's showbiz.
You think so? You
I
think he's not doing the Aleister Crowley kind of.
I think there's a little bit of showbiz involved.
Mm.
I also think Pop Will Eat Itself said it best when they said, "Alan Moore knows the score."
I love the man, I love the work, his work, let's put it that way. It has been impactful to me as a person. Um, so I'm so glad you picked this book because it's such a great story. And the transition that he goes through the process. If you haven't read it, read it, and you
We
will enjoy it.
we focus on the story. We focus on the story, the story, the story. I want to focus on the art. Toddlebean and Bissett inside.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. It's like wood engravings, the way it's drawn. And look at this Thomas Yates cover.
Mhm.
I hate to sound like a grumpy old man, but can you imagine a modern book having a cover like this now?
No,
The
no,
artistry involved?
and they seem to cheap out when it comes to trade dress nowadays too. No, this is great. And Tuttle Bean, to me, his art in this series is such a perfect brush for Alan Moore's story. It's 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 got these aspects of horror that go into it that really helps elevate the story and makes the story visceral, at least for me. I mean, it really in some points of this of the run, it was I was afraid to turn the page because some of the artwork was really just that powerful.
It was so creepy when no spoilers, when of course Arcane's come back. Whoever writes this book is gonna bring Arcane back. So when Alan Moore brings Arcane back, it is the most disgusting, creepy way to do it. I don't want to spoil it, but well, let's just say incest is involved. But Bissett, let's talk about Bissett as well, because Tolobin and Bissett were a team in the most uh, defined sense of the word. They blurred on the page. Sometimes one would pencil, sometimes one would ink, sometimes one would take the inking and penciling, and they really merged on the page. So you can't really call one out without calling out the other, because they were a true art team. And the fact that they were able, that trio, Moore, Bissett, and Tolobin, were able to stay on the book and really change comics forever for such a long time. Karen Berger kept keeping that group together. Kudos, kudos, kudos. Let's not forget who brought Alan Moore on, though. Len Wein.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Len Wein was the editor, the creator of Swamp Thing,
Mhm.
that brought Alan Moore onto this book before he handed it off to Karen Berger. And obviously, the creator of Swamp Thing blessed these changes as the editor of the book. So, Len Wein, rest in peace. We have not forgotten you, and we will not forget you. And if you have not read Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing, there's no hope for you. I don't know what to tell you.
Just do yourself a favor before you see John again. Make sure you've read it.
I will quiz you when I see you at a con. Let's move on to our underrated books of the week. Richard, you talk some. I've talked enough.
My pick this week is Superior #1 from Marvel back in 2010. This is another Mark Miller story. I love Mark Miller's work. My only problem with his work is it doesn't last for very long. Um, Lionel Yu on pencils, I call him out, and Dave McCaig as the colorist, because the artwork in this book is gorgeous and the coloring in this book is amazing. It really, really, really is powerful. And if you like sharp pencils and detailed um, art, this is a great book. This only ran for 7 issues. Fortunately, it was planned to run 7 issues, so it didn't, cut off in the middle of a story. And it's the superhero trope that you get from you get a kid who has multiple sclerosis, and we've seen this story all the time. He runs into a monkey in a spacesuit that gives him a wish, and he becomes
I've seen that story all the time with monkeys.
all the time. He becomes his favorite superhero, Superior, and it's the story kind of has been told a lot of times. Shazam, you get the same thing where you get this young kid who is put into an adult body, and but it's interesting. It actually was optioned back in 2016, and it had a writer attached to it. But like a lot of Mark Miller's stuff, it just didn't go anywhere. There's so many. He has so many different things that are so interesting that people pay to option it to get the ability to actually make a property out of it, but then it always falls apart. I don't know if it's because he's difficult to work with or what, but anyway, I don't worry about the optioning. I'm more worried about the story. If you like that kind of situation where you get a kid who is growing, learning in his powers because he's got this new body that is indestructible and has all these abilities, it's cool. It's a good story. Um, you could pick this whole series up on eBay for $10. There really isn't any reason not to if you want to read it. There's also a omnibus that is fan made that you can find online, if you want to read it that way. But it's a good story, and I think like as I think of a lot of Mark Miller's property, should have been TV show or animated movie because it deserves to be.
Shazam, Prime, Superior.
Yes.
One in a long line of kid wish fulfillment superhero properties. Richard, I'm so disappointed in you
Oh yeah, why?
because you have never talked about my underrated book of the week, Thor number 182, an underrated classic Doctor Doom cover, and Dr. Don Blake sees Doom's face and must pay the price. Ever seen this before?
I have not. To be completely honest with you.
It is a crazy, convoluted plot where Don Blake plants a newspaper story claiming to be a plastic surgeon whiz so he can tempt Doom into taking him to Latveria for some reason to help a woman. Basically, Don Blake is kidnapped and taken to Latveria to fix Doom's face, and hijinks ensue. It's less about the story, which, Stanley at the end of his plotting, where he just would just not give a crap. And it's more about this cover, really cool cover of Doom. I'm not sure if this is the first time Doom revealed his face to someone. Someone in the chat, let me know if you know of an earlier instance than this. The 12-month GPA average for a CGC 9.8 is $628. Now, I'm unclear if those include banana bends or not, but it is $628. Let's talk about a more realistic 9.2 12-month average, $165. How's that?
Yeah, it's a great cover. I love it. Me and Doom. I don't see a lot of covers with Don Blake on it. So
You got Thor over him, but really, who's selling this book here?
oh, it's Doom.
Yeah, for sure. Is this on the list now?
I will definitely, as I'm thumbing through Thor's, I'll look for it.
Yeah, how often are you thumbing through Thor's, though?
Not very.
So now you got to get yourself a Thor 182, I suppose. All right, everyone. Members, we will see you on Wednesday and Thursday. Everyone else, we will catch you on Monday. Have a great week.
Everybody, stay safe.